everybody, welcome to Arcane Duels, and it's Intangible. I'm going to do the last part of the Academy promos. As I've stated before, just in case you haven't seen it, do please go to the Mage Wars or Arcane Wonders site or YouTube channel and watch their videos that they released on how to play and work Academy. If you haven't seen those, these videos might not make much sense to you, because when I talk about these cards released in Academy, I'm going to explain how and why they're good in both Academy and Arena, since it is forward compatible. So, yes, I guess this is the last video where I'm going to do creatures and then talk about special cards, like which ones I think were the best or whatever. So cool, let's start off. Creatures, we have Enchantments. Enchantments is, it costs 8, has 3 armor, 6 health, and has an attack for 3 that deals sweeping. It is level 2 creature, meaning it is minor, and so it can get benefits from those. It has 3 armor. That's like, I think, like the highest armor, actually, of all the creatures. I want to say it is, actually. He's tough. He does only have 6 health, though, so he's kind of like a, I don't know, he's just kind of like a really tough egg, you know, just kind of like juicy on the inside, but like bouldery on the outside. That's a weird egg. I don't know what kind of egg does that. Maybe an ostrich. Anyway, that's a bad comparison. Let's move on. So he has a sweeping. I think in Arena, he's really not going to do a whole lot. He's a little pricey. He's only 1 mana less than Timberwolf, and he has 1 more armor, but 4 less health and 1 less dive damage, even though it's sweeping. It's hard to compare. But I don't think he's going to be great in Arena, but in Academy, oh my. Like, this is probably, like, this will be one of my necessities if I play Beastmaster, I think. I haven't played it enough, but I played it once and it was like, yeah, this does what I think it does. If your opponent has a lot of guards out, then Enchantments is like, no, get rid of that guard, get rid of that guard. Yeah, they counterattack, but he has 3 armor. He is designed to do exactly what he does, and that is to break down guards, and then so you can get to the soft insides of the mage in front of you. And if there's only 1 guard, then you get to hit that and then hit the opponent mage, or whatever the case is. If there are 2 creatures on the field that both have a dodge chance, and you want to attack them, you can, because it's not like you wasted a full action to attack one of them who could avoid. You're actually attacking at both of them, and since you're doing 3 dice of damage to both of them, there's a chance that you'll kill them. It depends on which creature it is. Speaking of which creature it is, let's move on. Okay, I don't know how to pronounce this. There are 2 ways I can think of this. Atticaran Porcupine, or what I think is a Tickerin. And so it has 1 armor, 9 health, and only 1 die of damage, but piercing 1 counterstrike. However, when making a counterstrike, you get melee +2. So basically, for 8 mana, you got a creature that's not very good at all. However, when he's making a counter-strike, suddenly he gets melee +2. So, like, if he's guarding, yeah, he's going to be attacking for 3 dice of damage, piercing 1. That's pretty effective in Academy. But if you are hoping that they're just going to attack you in hopes of killing him, then he's only going to be dealing, like, 1 die of damage every time, piercing 1. And in that case, it's like, I just kind of spent 8 mana for something that's not doing anything. I don't know. It might be like a worse ghoul rot. I don't know. Anyway, so basically, I'm not a huge fan of him, but he is a good guard to have in Academy, so he's still pretty useful there, because he will save you, because he's kind of scary on a counterattack. Piercing 1, a lot of creatures have 1 armor, so, you know, screw them, right? So, yeah, a Tickerin, as I'm going to call it, Porcupine. In Arena, I wouldn't. I don't think I would ever, honestly. That's just me, though. We have the Azurian Genie, or Azurian Genie, your choice. He is 1 arcane and 1 air, so he's really only good for your air wizards or your Academy wizards. He costs 8, no armor but 10 health, but hear me out, with his only 3 attack die, but hear me out. When he is summoned, place 3 wish tokens on him. As his action, you may remove 1 wish token and target a living creature in his zone. So, wait, as his action, remove it. So it sounds like you don't have a choice, but I'm imagining you do have a choice. So anyway, as his action, remove 1 wish token and target a living creature in his zone. The target gains +2 melee round, or heals 2, or gains a stagger. So basically, he's like, you cast him early, and then your opponent casts a lot of creatures, and you're like, that's annoying, stagger. Or you need to kill something and finish it off, and you're like, man, I'm like 1 to 2 damage off with statistically, and then he gives that creature melee +2, or you're in trouble, so he heals him. Basically, this guy, he's so versatile. I really like him. His ability, like, he has to spend his action doing those things, and he only gets to do it 3 times, but he's still pretty cool, and he has 10 health. No armor, but he has 10 health, and no armor, but you can fix that with the enchantments from the last video I did. So, I like him a lot. In Arena, see, here's the weird thing about it. It says, as his action, remove 1 token. So, it's like, is that his full action, or can he move and do this? That's kind of up to Arcane Wonders to answer after watching this video, I suppose. But, yeah, in Arena, regardless, I don't think he's going to be super useful, but he is pretty helpful, and I love the versatility on him. So, moving on from there, Dark Fiend Asp. Oh, Dark Fiend Asp. I hate Justin with Koshade with his Dark Fiend Asps. So he costs 4, and he has a 5-up dodge and like 3 health, and he has a chance to give you a weak every time he hits you, but he is 7-up weak, but he only does 1 die of damage, and he's a pest. So right, so like it's like he won't die like ever. There's only like 2 things that have unavoidable in this game, so he just lives through everything. Even arcane missiles statistically is not going to kill him, so he's just around, and when you summon bigger creatures, he goes, that's cool, and then he gives you weak tokens, and then you're just really annoyed by him. When I say I hate him, I mean this guy's awesome. I just like have a sour taste in my mouth from the time he's used against me, because he's really effective in Academy. He's a great creature in Academy, great tech. In Arena, there are so many unavoidable attacks that I feel, especially now, players are going to be used. Once Academy comes out, they're going to be going anti-Academy tech. And so Dark Fiend Asp might be like useless, but not because of him, like it's not his fault, right? It's just that Ring of Fire is the thing. So is Flame Blast, and so is all that stuff. So Dark Fiend Asp, awesome in Arena. He's gonna not be good just because people will prepare for him. Okay, so once again, doing a promo, Gorgon Spear Thrower. She costs 8, has 1 armor, 7 health, and she has a range attack for 0 to 1 space that does 2 damage and has a 7-up? Yeah, 7-up chance to weak and regenerate 1. She's pretty good. In Academy, she's like once again, a weak chance, 2 dice of damage, and she basically has elusive because it's a range attack. However, in Arena, a 0 to 1 range attacks that are full actions are not very good, because you have to play around it so often. That's the only reason Goblin Alchemist isn't like the best card in the world, in my opinion. But maybe that's just because I have a soft spot for him. But like Gorgon Archer, 0 to 1 range, by the time like you cast her and like prepare to use her, and unless they're 2 zones away and you're like been like, come at me, bro, unless they're actually already there. If they're already in your face, she's probably gonna die. She has 1 armor and 7 health, which means statistically in most attacks, like 2 attacks will bring her down, or like 1 big guy. So Academy, pretty good. Arena, not so much. Jade Gremlin. I hate him even more. 4 health, no armor, 4 mana, no armor, 5 health, and does 2 damage. Pest, so can't guard, not really good there, right? But the moment you attack him, spends 1 mana and just avoids it. Like he teleports, he's just like, huh, not here. Oh, look, I'm back. So in Academy, oh, he is so frustrating. The best way to deal with him is by guarding with a creature, but the thing is, you're not going to hit the opponent back. Like, he's just going to spend a mana and teleport. Now, that is, of course, unless your opponent decides not to have 1 mana left over to use on him. And in that case, I guess, whatever, then he's going to die. But he still has 5 health is the thing. So it's like, in Academy, most things are not going to kill him in 1 hit. So he can still soak a hit. In Arena, not so much. Kind of suffers the same problem as Dark Fiend Asp, but he has 5 health instead of 3, which means even a Ring of Fire or other zone attacks may not kill him. He has the chance. So that being said, I have the feeling that this guy is going to cause problems with wizards and swarming in the future in Arena. However, once again, then people are going to start running anti-avoid builds. So here's a guy. He's unique. He is a lightning raptor. He costs 8, and he's awesome. He's arcane 1 and air 1, and 1 armor, 9 health, and so basically is this weird attack, right? It does X, and it's a lightning attack where he has a 7-up chance to stagger. But every turn, every upkeep phase, you're gonna give him a, what is it? A growth? Is it called a growth? I think it's something like that. He gains a charge. He gets a charge token. So every upkeep, he gains a charge token, and thus his attack does +1 more die. It starts off at 0, right? But like if you cast him in the very first round, by the time he's usable, he's already rolling two dice, and then it just keeps getting more from there. He's the strongest creature in the game at full value. Like once he gets to 5 dice, he just gets out of control. On top of that, he gets a counter-strike trait once he gets to 5 dice. So if you don't kill him before then, you're not going to, I guess, unless you feel like spending 2 piercing lightnings on him. Or no, wait, you're probably the Beastmaster fighting him. I don't know, man. Good luck. He's tough. In Arena, he's gonna be crazy if you cast him turn 1. If you cast him turn 1, by the time your opponent gets to him, he's at least rolling 3 dice, and he could get out of control from there. However, luckily he is unique. So even if they cast him turn 2 out of a conjuration or whatever, he's still gonna be bird and lightning. He's not an animal, so he's still gonna be pretty good. He's probably a primary target to kill. So lightning raptor I see possibly used in like every wizard deck. Moving from there is Mana Worm. This is the ultimate card that makes Mana Lock. No, it's not the ultimate card that makes Mana Lock viable, but it is nice to have. Do you remember Mana Leech? And it's like, oh man, it's expensive, so why am I like even bothering with the Mana Drain if he's so expensive? Well, Mana Worm is not. Mana Worm costs 5. Mana Worm has 1 armor and 6 health. Mana Worm's not easy to kill. And then he does 2 dice of damage, and as long as he attacks and does damage, he's going to drain a mana from your opponent. So that's awesome. And Academy, that's grueling. Especially if you attack with him before your opponent gets sacked, because then you might mess up their whole game plan because they don't have the mana to spend. At the same time, he didn't do a whole lot other than that. In Arena, if you make it, I could see making a swarm build, not like 6 of these guys. I wouldn't run 6 of them. I'd run like 2 or 3, and I'd make sure they aren't all in the same zone. Otherwise, you can see a zone attack followed up by an extra punch or so, knocking him out of the game. So Mana Worm, I think he's pretty awesome. I like him a lot. He's just cool, and he's allowing a new build to be possible. So that's cool. All right, Paralyzing Basilisk. He costs 8. He has 2 armor, 7 health, and does 2 dice of damage with a stagger chance of 7-up. In Academy, he has a range attack, so once again, basically elusive with a chance to stagger. At first, I wasn't impressed with him until I saw him used against me, and then I was like, oh man, he keeps just locking down my creatures. It's really hard to do anything, and he has 2 armor, so he's really tough to kill him on top of that. He doesn't do a whole lot other than like lockdown, like he does 2 dice of damage, but I mean, so far a lot of things have, so I guess in that retrospect, he's actually pretty good. I think he suffers the same problem that Gorgon Archer does in Arena, though, as he only has a 0-1 range attack, and then by the time you're hoping to attack your opponent with him, they're already in your face, and then But he has 2 armor and 7 health, so he's a lot more durable. He might survive 2 attacks, and that could make him worth it right there. So I'm kind of up in the air about him, for Arena at least. Pelion Lynx. So, one, I'm glad to see that something is coming out of Pelia. Anyway, from that region that is not a giant brain mass or illusion or a mage. So it's good to see something else come out of there. But he costs 4, and he has 5 health and 2 damage, piercing 1. And if you've seen the Steel Claw Cub, you'll know the comparison of these 2 creatures and how he just doesn't compare. He's just not good. Sorry. Piercing 1 is like, it's pretty good in Academy. Actually, it's pretty good in general, since a lot of things have 1 armor. but he's not tough enough. He's not going to survive. He basically suffers the same problem that all the other cats or small pups do in Arena, except for, granted, he's 1 mana less, but he just doesn't do enough or survive enough to make himself worth it. So I was hoping to see a really good cat come out of this to make a cat build possible for the Beastmaster in Arena, but I don't think he is quite the solution. But you know what? If you're playing like a super aggressive build, I could see him being worth it because, well, in Academy, I mean, if you're playing super aggression, usually aggression suffers as its cards are not as good as a lot of like control builds cards tend to be. However, aggression is the object is to kill your opponent, so you don't really care about efficiency, right? And if you look at it that way, he's just fine. So maybe I'm looking at it wrong. I don't know. But you play him and you tell me how he is. Okay, next up is Raja, Jungle's Talon, or Raja, or however you want to pronounce it. It is a cat, and it costs 11, and it is 3, is a level 3 nature, so it's not a legendary creature, which is important because it can't be buffed nor simply taken down by certain enchantments. It is has 4 dice of damage, so the biggest we've seen so far, with piercing 1 on top of that, legendary and elusive. I love him so hard. I love him. Like I would have him in real life. That's how much I love this guy. In Academy, he, with elusive and 4 dice, piercing 1, and just like, I don't care, right? Just like at that point, you're like, I'm gonna kill the mage now. I won. No, he can be killed, but he does kind of set a clock for the game, is basically what it comes down to. You cast him, and then you go at your opponent, and your opponent goes, oh god, I have to kill you first, because with 1 armor and 11 health, they can be soaking a lot of attacks into him, and if they take many attacks just to kill Raja, then you're in good condition anyway. In Arena, I still see him being really good. He's not fast, so he's severe light. He's not fast, and that is a bit of a downside, but you can make him fast. So he makes me want to do a legendary cat deck with Severe and I guess Mukunda. And there's another card coming up eventually that also pairs with that. So yeah, this guy is, I really like him. All right, cool. Next up is Razor Tusk. Now I know Aaron Brosman is a fan of him, and I did not really understand why until like literally yesterday or 2 days ago when I thought about him. He has 2 armor, 7 health, 4 dice of damage. Now, if you compare him to Timberwolf in Arena, he costs 1 less and has 3 less dice of, or 3 less damage, like health, for 1 mana. It's really bad. That's bad, and on top of that, he's a swine, so he can't benefit from, like a wolf pack or any other dog build, right? So that makes him bad. In Academy, however, holy cow, because he is a level 2 creature, he can get buffed. He can he can get much more terrifying than he already is, because 4 dice of damage is a lot in Academy. You build him right, he can just go around one-shotting a lot of creatures. And then on top of that, 2 armor, 7 health, he's not going to die anytime soon. And guess what? You can enchant him even further. So your only issue with him is if they exile him, and then you just carry a couple disperses with you, and it's very hard to deal with Razor Tusk. I haven't made a build around him yet after realizing this, but I think that now I'm going to after this video, and then I'll tell you how it goes. So very powerful in Academy. I think he's terrible in Arena. That's just my opinion, though. Next up is Red-Crested Cockatrice. He is a level 2 creature with 1 health, 1 mana, 9 health. He has 2 dice of damage, and he has a 7-up weak chance. A lot of weak chances in this, which is really nice, because before there was like barely any weak in Mage Wars, right? Weak tokens, that is. So yeah, he only does 2 dice of damage. However, when he is counter-striking, it's melee +1, and his attack gets piercing 1 as well. So if you compare him to a Tikarin Porcupine, he has he does the same amount of damage when he's counter-striking. He has a weak chance. And is he tougher? No, I think he's just as tough. And on top of that, his base attack, oh, he doesn't have counter strike is the downside to him. However, his base attack is 2 dice instead of 1. So, overall, and he has a weak chance. So overall, he's just way better than a porcupine. But I don't know how much he's going to be used. I could see him being very useful in Academy because if there's aggression coming down your throat from the Beastmaster, he's going to be very useful. If your opponent keeps summoning creatures and activating them immediately to rush at you, he's going to stop that. He's going to hold that line, and your opponent's going to be like, I can't get away with this trick anymore. I have to do something else. So that wizard, this could be pretty useful to stop that aggression from the Beastmaster and really turn things around. In Arena, I'm still really unsure just because I don't think that he fits. He doesn't really fit a purpose, right? A lot of people are probably still going to just run the Gargoyle Sentry. But the fact that he has a good weak chance and it doesn't have to be arranged, unlike the Gorgon Archer, maybe people will use him for that. So I'm unsure. And he does have 1 armor, 9 health, so he's out of most attack spells range of dying. Statistically, I think all of them. But, you know, he's pretty cool. I'm not sure if I'll see him in Arena very often. Moving from there is Ridgeback Skunk. I've thought about this guy a lot and I still have not come up with a conclusion. He costs 7, 1 armor, 7 health, 2 attack, and whenever he is melee attacked, he basically during the counter-strike step, he counter-strikes, but not with damage. He just places a stagger on them. Basically, you attack a skunk, it sprays you, and that's the theory with him. He works exactly that way, and thematically, he's perfect. Like, right? He's cool. However, 7 mana, so he's one of those few creatures that finds himself at that odd number. There are very few creatures that I can think of that cost about this much mana. So he fills that niche where if at one point you're like, man, I'm 1 man off, he might actually be filling that void for you. However, the problem with him is people just aren't going to attack him then. And so if they don't attack him, that means he gets to get away with doing his own attacks unless they're counter-striking you. And in that case, well, okay, it kind of works this way. His attack isn't good enough to warrant that your opponent just ignores him. However, if they're trying to guard, he's cool because they guard, you attack them, they have the choice of counterattacking you or not, and at least in Academy. They have the choice of counterattacking you, and if they do, they get a stagger, meaning they're not going to be able to guard again, unless they're not a minor creature. In Arena, so in Academy, he fits a very specific need in getting rid of guards. In Arena, however, he just doesn't do enough, and if your opponent wants to get rid of him, they can. And stagger, it may not do enough. However, if you do see a lot of swarm builds, maybe he is good. Moving on is Sylphin Hydra. Level 3 creature, he costs 12. He is an arcane, 1 armor, 13 health, 3 damage with a double strike and regenerate 1. He's the Hydra Light, right? He only has 2 heads this time. And he is very tough to kill. In an Arena, he's not tough to kill. That's a few attacks. If a few good attacks, he's gone. Right? In an Academy, there's just no point in attacking him. Just like none. Here's the major issue with him as a design. You look at him and you go, man, this card is really tough. I should be guarding with him because he'll stick around. The problem is he doesn't have a quick attack. He only has a full attack. Meaning, if he guards, your opponent can hit him and he can't counterattack. He's got no counterattack against them. So he's, in that regard, he's the worst guard, besides the fact that he's a meat shield. So you go on the offense with him with his 3 damage double strike, and I like to compare that to Ankylodan and go, man, I would rather have sweeping because there'll be more creatures in Academy. But in Arena, double strike could be a little more useful, 3 dice. But in Academy, there's a lot more things with armor. Like if you try to attack a Steelclaw Cub with this, like his 2 armor, 5 health, you would statistically do 2 damage to it with both, like total, right? And that's whatever. Then he has regenerate 1, so it's like, oh cool, I have a trait that keeps me alive, even though people already aren't attacking me. So I guess he's kind of a creature killer. So if you respond by casting creatures with heavy armor or any armor really at all, they're probably gonna live. So he fits a very specific need in killing specific creatures who have high health and no armor. You make your own opinions from there. Next up is Satyrgruff. So Satyrgruff costs 8. He's an arcane creature. He is level 2, so he's minor, and that's important because he's a weird card. So he has 1 armor and 10 health. He's very tough, hard to kill, and he normally rolls 3 dice of damage. That alone makes him pretty good for Academy. However, his ability states when he attacks and deals 4 more damage, he places a stagger condition on a creature he attacked. So what's weird about that is he only does 3 dice of damage, right? So statistically, he's not even going to deal 4 damage. However, and on top of that, if his opponent has at least 1 armor, then he's not going to do that in addition. However, if you throw something like, I don't know, whatever that one attack was. I don't know. You could throw a series of different attacks. I've got the enchantments in front of me. I'm not even looking at it. Wolf strength. That was it. If you throw something like that on him, then he's more statistically likely to do 4 damage. So if you do buff him, suddenly his ability becomes a lot better. The counter argument to that is that if you're dealing that much damage anyway, you're probably killing the minor creature, or at least you're killing a level 1. So then he's not good against level 1s in his ability, which you're paying for in his mana cost, right? And he's not good against higher than level 2 because he doesn't place a staggering condition on him, and level 3s are just going to be tougher than him anyway. So then what does he do? He's a level 2 creature smasher. If there's a bunch of level 2 creatures like a Racer Tusk on the field, he will ruin their day. Well, Razor Tusk has 2 armor, so I guess he really wouldn't. But if there are level 2 creatures other than that, he can actually just totally obviate them until they're finally dead. So, and on top of that, if he's dealing 4 damage, he's going to kill them in a couple hits. So, Satyrgruff has a very specific point with him, but he doesn't have to, it's not like he's useless if you don't take advantage of that, because he's still doing decent damage. So, yeah, Satyrgruff. This guy right here, when I first saw him in playtesting, it was like, and they kept him, and I'm really happy they did. So we have Slavjorg, the Fang of the First Moon. He is a level 4 nature creature for 15. 15? An Academy? What? Yeah, but listen. So he has 2 armor, 13 health, 4 damage, piercing 2, really tough. Like, for 15, maybe that's a bit not as good, right? Right, he's not as good. Listen, though. He's a legendary epic Beastmaster only. You only get 1 of them. Slavjorg costs 2 less mana for each animal creature in your discard pile. At the end of each of his activations, you may pay 2 mana to place a guard marker on him. So let's talk about that, shall we? Oh, man. So basically, you don't want to build around him. You don't want to be like, all right, my plan is to cast a bunch of creatures and just let my opponent kill all of them and then get him for free. Because then it's like, I would rather actually have all those small creatures, right? However, if like a couple of them die, let's say you lose 3 creatures in the process. You throw out some cats, bear, wolves, whatever, oh my, and then you throw them at your opponent, and then they die. So 6 of them, suddenly he costs 9. Now, if I'm paying 9, that's a Timberwolf, right? 9 mana. And he has 2 armor, 13 health, so he has 3 more health than the Timberwolf, and he does same amount of damage of piercing 2, and he has this awesome ability where you, after your activation, right, at the end of each of his activations, you pay 2 mana and basically give him Vigilant. He attacks, pay 2 mana, give him a guard. That's awesome, and that's actually better than Pack Leader's Cowl, because otherwise you'd be spending 4 mana on him. So, and on top of that, you compare that. Oh man, that's tough. That's really good. Like, listen to that. You can attack with Slavjorg, give him a guard marker, right, with his ability. Your opponent attacks him, then your mage goes, activates, and then spends 4 mana to give him another guard. Game over. Assuming they bother even attacking him and not guarding themselves. And if they guard themselves, he still does 4 damage, piercing 2. So, he's really cool. He's really, really cool. He's very conditional, but he's really cool. So, moving on next, Steelclaw Cub. We've already talked about him. He's awesome. He makes builds possible that weren't before. He truly is a great swarm creature. He doesn't do a lot of damage, too. Like 1 or 2 pieces of armor. Statistically, 1 armor kind of makes him go, meh, right? However, 2 armor, 5 health for only 4 mana. I mean, it's not going to die anytime soon. An AoE attack's not going to kill that. A big attack that isn't rolling 7 dice of damage with any piercing isn't statistically going to kill that. And at that point, you're going, ha ha, I will throw bears at you because you're not taking 7 damage to the face. So, man, they're awesome. They have pests. They can't guard. Oh, sad day. Well, in Academy, he's great. In Arena, I think he's going to make builds possible. And then, of course, we all know about the Matriarch as well. Steelclaw Matriarch, 3 dice of damage, 3 health, or 3 armor, 11 health for 11 mana. Pretty tough. Gets +1 melee for each friendly Steelclaw cub in her zone. In Academy, crazy. Like, you can do either way. You can go, okay, I'll cast a couple cubs. He doesn't kill them. Bam, Steelclaw Matriarch. Or you can go Steelclaw Matriarch. Every turn, I cast a cub. Ha ha ha! They get more powerful. They both work off each other. You can do any order you wish. I feel like the Matriarch first followed by the cubs is a better way to deal with it. Because if you do cubs first, they could die. I guess then if, I don't know, whatever, man, your choice. So anyway, Matriarch, pretty cool. Pretty good for her cost until you get into Arena, and then you have to start moving around the board. And then suddenly, like, you have to move in unison. So you really kind of need to play a lockdown build if you're going to make her work with your cubs. Because otherwise your opponent moves and scatters your cubs all around. From Domination, Sandstorm, which pushes your creatures all over the place. Repulse, that would be another one. That would really make this build hard to work around. So, the Matriarch, pretty awesome. Can be fought around, though. In Academy, much less so. And I haven't actually had the chance to play that build yet, but I imagine, well, that would be pretty good. So you tell me, right? Taraki, 1,000 bites. He's so funny. I love him. Okay, 5 up chance to dodge, 0 armor, 4 health, 2 attack, 2 damage, unavoidable. He only costs 5, and he's a level 1 legendary creature. He has Elusive and Pest, Beastmaster only. He has one purpose and one purpose only, to kill the enemy mage. Like, he's there, he's going to deal 2 damage every turn. That's going to happen. Oh, I'm sorry, no, he has actually his main purpose is not to kill the enemy mage. And the main purpose is to slowly kill the guardian, or the avoidable creatures. So there's a lot of avoidable creatures in the game. There's some I've already pointed out and a couple more to come. One more to come. So there's been a lot of avoidable, really dodgy creatures, right? We have the Asp, we had the Gremlin. He, in 2 attacks, he will make this just not work. 2 attacks, or, since he's a level 1, look at that. All those enchantments that you can cast on minor creatures, he becomes insane. Oh, he's awesome. I like him. I like him a lot. I think he's possibly mandatory in every Beastmaster deck. And he's cheap, but to put in your deck and to cast him, so why wouldn't you? I mean, you can... Oh, he's not epic, so I suppose if you had multiple copies, you could do that too. Taraki, 1,000 bites, ladies and gentlemen. Next up, Witchwood Fairy. Probably necessary in about half the Beastmaster decks for Academy. She costs 4, she has a 5 up dodge, again. She has 3 health. She only does 1 damage with Ethereal. Her attack sucks, but that's not why you have her. Because her ability, she's Pest and Unique, by the way, Beastmaster only. But her abilities, once per round, if she is in your zone, you pay 1 less mana to cast an enchantment or an animal creature. That's just enchantment or just an animal creature. There's no stipulation there. Plus, you get the discount if you cast an enchantment. Not reveal it, cast it. That doesn't happen in anything else. Everything else specifies when you reveal. She says when casting. So you might as well open up with her unless you're planning on going super dumb aggressive, right? Unless you're doing that, you might as well have her, because in 4 turns with the opening, if you count the opening, in 2 turns after action starts, she makes up for her cost and she starts getting you stuff, and hey, she gets an attack to boot while she's at it. 1 damage Ethereal. It's not very good. Actually, when I used her against Justin, I literally never dealt damage with her. Not once. So, but Academy, awesome in Arena, because you have to move around. She can be cool. If you have her move around with you while you're doing enchantments and stuff, she's still worth it. and she would be good for knocking off guards, I suppose. And then your opponent would be like, yeah, well, I'm just going to kill her. And you'd be like, I don't care, because she already made up her cost, and you just wasted an attack spell on her. Next up, finally, actually, is the Witchwood Hound. Witchwood Hound, cost 5, has no armor and 7 health with a 2 attack. Alright, so like you compare to the Cub, right? Costs 1 more, has 2 more health, but not 2 armor, and does the same amount of damage, and you're like, that's not very good. But then you read its ability, and it says, whenever it's in a zone with another Witchwood Hound, it gets +1 armor and +1 melee. But it's how it's worded that's important. Whenever it's in a zone with another one, it doesn't stack. You don't get this multiple times, you get it once. And then once you get it once, suddenly this creature has 1 armor, 7 health, and 3 dice to attack with, and all of a sudden 5 mana is looking really good. These things attack in pairs. That's the best way to run them, unless you want to have a third one there in the contingency that one dies. But let me tell you, with 2 of them on the field, if your opponent starts hurling boulders to get rid of a hound, be happy, because these things can be awesome. In Academy, they're great. I think they're probably my favorite opener. In Arena, here's the problem with them in Arena. You move 1 space and attack with a hound and you don't get the bonus. Then your opponent gets a chance to react. And then you move the second hound, and then suddenly you're getting the armor and the melee. But in meantime, when your opponent gets to react, suddenly you have a hound with 7 health but no armor, totally vulnerable to a lot of attacks. So in Arena, they have to be played right, and I'm not sure if they're worth it, unless you really want to look at them as throwaway creatures for 5 mana. In that case, they're not too bad. Another cool thing is, yes, they are canines, so yes, they do benefit from puppy builds. So yeah, Witchwood Hound, great in Academy, has to be worked around in Arena. That is all of the creatures, ladies and gentlemen. So let me go ahead and actually grab something out of here. So basically what I'm going to go on to now is I'm going to tell you about, I'm going to pick the MVP of each section, the ones that I think are like, what, right? And then I'm just going to pick some extra cards and just give it random awards. So, starting with equipment. The card that I think is like woo, and will be used in everything, and is an MVP of equipment, is the Witchwood Ironvine. Yes, there are a lot of good equipments. There are a lot of equipments that will change the meta, but Witchwood Ironvine, I think, is so powerful that it will probably be used in most builds. If it's not, I'm going to be very surprised, because I'm going to use it in every build and you're probably going to be sorry. So, awesome. Next up, this was a tough decision, and very possible that people will argue with me, but in attack spells for MVP, I have Piercing Thunderstrike. Now, it was really tough between Arcane Missiles and this one. The reason why I chose Piercing Thunderstrike as the MVP over Arcane Missiles was because Piercing Thunderstrike isn't a specific effect. Arcane Missiles it basically is about attacking 3 creatures for a little bit of damage in hopes of finishing 1 or 2 of them off. It's a little pinger or a way to set up damage. Piercing Thunderstrike is just always good. It is not unavoidable, so I guess it's not always good. But other than that, it is always good. Its stagger effect isn't great, but man, everything about Piercing Thunderstrike is totally worth it, and I call it MVP for that. Next up in incantations, the best one is Crumble. Crumble I chose because it is going to be the meta changer in the sense of, yes, equipment should be a little more scared, because now it can be directed effectively. Armor Ward will become better with because of Crumble, but Nullify will have a heavy hit to it with Crumble. So Crumble is going to possibly just change things around. Yes, it's a full action, but we'll see who's okay with spending that full action to ensure that they just easily get rid of equipment, right? And for a cheap cost or 2. So I chose Crumble for the incantations. Next up, this is a tough decision, but ultimately I look back on how much I praised this card when I showed it, so I chose for MVP Enchantments Gator Toughness. Gator Toughness is so awesome because it makes certain creatures suddenly live that would normally die in certain circumstances. It doesn't have an X cost and like Iguana Regrowth or anything that can make it really expensive, so it can be cast on everything that's a living creature. So Iguana Regrowth is going to change certain builds because suddenly your Thought Spores and other creatures that people say, oh, this isn't good because it's going to die easily, suddenly Iguana Regrowth makes those builds possible. I chose Iguana Regrowth because it allows a lot of cards that we thought previously unusable to suddenly be effective. Lastly, in creatures for MVP, I chose Steelclaw Cub. Everything I've been talking about so far, I've been like, well, let's compare it to the Steelclaw Cub. So it should be no surprise that I think that this is our best creature. It has 2 armor, 5 health for 4 mana. So the downside is, yes, it only rolls 2 dice of damage, but that can be fixed with a variety of enchantments and other things like that if you so wish. Optionally, he is just there to boost another creature and to knock off guards and such. So Steelclaw Cub is extremely effective for what it does, and honestly, it kind of puts a lot of other level 1 creatures to shame. So as far as level 1 creatures, I think Steelclaw Cub is the creature to beat. So that's my claim there. Finally, I just want to throw a few more quick awards out for most creative designed card. For the one that I went, huh, that was so cool. I'm gonna go with Slavorg. He is just, he's so unique. No other card is like him. He's one of the few cards besides the Necromancer shenanigans that actually affects the discard pile. And he allows you to not feel so bad for throwing all of your friends under the table. So Slavorg, I voted the best creatively designed card there is. I think possible meta changer besides Crumble that I mentioned before, I'm gonna vote Arcane Ward because it is a novice arcane spell. So it is super effective in that way that it allows certain mages, Warlord, to have effects that they would normally not be able to use. I've never seen a Warlord run Nullify, and that's because he just didn't have the space for it. Suddenly, Arcane Ward makes things like that possible. So hats off to you, Arcane Ward, for helping out the friend in need. And then finally, special mention for a card that is not the best, but one that helps a mage in need. A mage that really needed just that something, and it is Kajara. Kajara, because poor Jotari Beastmaster just didn't it just didn't work. It didn't synergize. Its abilities did not function together. Why would you want fast, where you can run 2 spaces, and have range +1 with weapons that you can't move when you shoot with? It doesn't make sense. Oh wait, yes it does. Kajara's out. So hats off to Kajara for, I don't know, I'm gonna say team player. So yeah, everybody, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this release of the Academy cards and my opinions on them. Koshade may argue, but he's not here, so I win. My editor's laughing at me. So I'm glad you watched. Please hit the subscribe button, continue to follow us, watch us, all that stuff, and stick around because we'll actually have some matches out of Academy very soon. Adios.
More work?